Greetings, tentacle croissantians and croissant and tentacles. I am still here, comfortably walking on my Matrix Pod treadmill out here in the most dystopian of settings in Central Europe and Prague. Richard Grannon has been ducking the police and all different sorts of borders, and he lost his face. Richard, are you there from an undisclosed location?
Yes, I am here in Punta Cana. I just want to apologize to everybody listening for the crap signal that I have. Very, very sorry, guys. We've paid for premium quality Wi-Fi, which in the Dominican means 2 megabytes per second.
Yes. So, yeah, as much as we can understand a few of your sentences, a few of those words will cut out. Today is probably going to be a shorter conversation considering the internet connection. But if you can describe, Richard, how was your trip escaping the regime? What happened?
Well, I, I flew from Ibiza to Madrid, and then from Madrid to uh, the Dominican Republic, flew into Santo Domingo, which was fine. You know, it was a pleasant flight, no problem. It's transatlantic, which is always slightly hair-raising. We're at the end of the tropical storm season here, so you never really know what you're gonna get. But it was a pleasant flight. When I landed, it was already a little bit strange because there was somebody famous landing at the same time in the airport. So when I came out of the luggage collection, there was just hordes of people staring at me expectantly, which was really like I was a little bit drunk from the flight, not slept very well, and then I came off the flight and there's just a ton of people staring at me. So there's already this sense of unreality there. When we got into the taxi and started traveling into Santo Domingo town itself, the fact it was at night and they're in a state of emergency here. The curfew is 9 o'clock and it's not being enforced by police, it's being enforced by the army.
Oh, wow.
So we went through 6 checkpoints at like midnight local time, with the torchlight into the back of the car. Where are you going? What are you doing? Kind of thing. Disturbingly young men with disturbingly large guns, and it just felt wild. It just felt really, really Mad Max wild. That night, the traffic lights were down in Santo Domingo, so they were flying through the traffic lights as best as they could. We nearly died a couple of times, and then eventually at one of the checkpoints, we got hit by a dude on a scooter trying to do Uber delivery.
You got in a car accident.
Well, technically, yes. I mean, nothing happened to us. It was we were in like a little minivan. It was just it just added to the weird, like, the sense of like total chaos and the sense that like everything had tumbled down. But the weird thing was the only people on the road at that time in the curfew are takeaway food drivers and taxi drivers and truck drivers, which also gave it this sense of like everything is just completely global. You can't escape this. The only people who are allowed to function are truck drivers, taxi drivers, food delivery drivers. So yeah, there was a guy, I think he broke his arm. He basically drove into the back of us whilst we were being checked at gunpoint. He was shouting. They wouldn't let us get out of the car, out of the van, but he was shouting about his arm.
Oh, okay. The dude that ran his car into you broke his arm, and
Yeah, the Uber driver on the motorbike broke his arm.
what about the gunpoint?
They're just uh, um, for some reason the atmosphere is very, very testy. So like you're not your everything is done at the point of a badge, at the point of a gun. So the effort to control the scenario is strong. It's strong. It was intimidating, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Going from Europe to the Caribbean, it was definitely an atmosphere change.
Okay, so I'm gonna be your digital latency translator because you cut out a few times. But if I
Thank
can
you.
get this correct, so everybody
Okay.
else listening as well. First of all, this looks like a scene midway through the dystopian movie plot where we were hanging out, and then now you can't even talk with your face showing, and everything's disconnecting.
Right.
The story that you're giving me right now, if I can follow correctly, you you
Yeah.
when you landed in the Dominican Republic, all eyes on you,
Mm,
and they're in a state of emergency,
mm,
meaning
mm,
that the basic what you'd call military police is patrolling the streets with
mm,
guns visible,
mm,
and
mm,
that you had to go through 6 checkpoints in which everybody
mm,
was skeptical,
mm.
throwing flashlights down towards the end of your car, making sure that you're up to uh, what you would call good behavior. And lastly, it's ended off on some guy crashing into your car and then breaking his arm.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, that's it. The only change I would make to that is it's not the military police, it's actually the army that's enforcing this. They're soldiers on the streets.
So there's soldiers on the streets with guns protecting you
Mm.
from the virus.
Yeah, there's this highly infectious, highly contagious, extremely deadly virus that has quartered the population. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Okay. But the good news is that you're at a so-called 5-star, 6, 7-star hotel with terrible Wi-Fi, but at least you're in some sort of domestic surrounding.
That's it. That's it. The happy conclusion to this tale is I'm now away from Santo Domingo. I'm up in Punta Cana in a nice resort, and it's beautiful, and it's its own sort of little oasis. Obviously, you're sort of protected here, and you know they are doing like social distancing and everything, but it's really the opposite of strict.
Yeah. Well, what time is it over there?
It's 2 in the afternoon right now.
Okay, yeah. Seeing your Instagram stories, I could have never imagined you going through that because from what I saw, in it's like 0 degrees Celsius out here in Prague. I think our lockdowns are lifting this Thursday, so people need to do that Christmas shopping to boost that economy thing that's crumbling before our very eyes. And looking at your Instagram story, it looked like you're having a good time, man. You're just like chilling on a sunny balcony or in the town square. People are playing what Latin music, and people are jollily dancing around. Didn't seem like anybody had masks on or anything either.
Yeah, it's not strict here at all. It's very chilled. It's very chilled. They're doing it, but this is how I find it in countries where people are generally more relaxed.
Yeah,
Spain and Portugal are the same as it's relaxed until there's a state of emergency, and then the people who are in control, the people in the uniforms, they kind of do this weird overcompensatory thing of being too forceful. So everybody else is too chilled, and then they're too forceful. So what name a people that you think are relaxed, and you think, oh, Thai is so chilled, Cambodian is so chilled, Spanish is so chilled. Okay, until the uniform goes on, and things change real quick.
okay, I'm gonna slow down my treadmill and everything that's distracting people. But yeah, it seems like that's almost duality or yin and yang in motion, right? So the more one side is deep on an end, you'll see the nearing contrast right next to it.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And you do. I don't know. It's kind of unnerving. There's a movie in the '80s called Brazil by Terry Gilliam. I don't know if you've seen that one, but it's worth a look. And being here feels like that film. Not that the film is set anywhere near the Caribbean or anything, but that sense of you can't quite believe what you're seeing, but everybody's acting like it's normal. And that film really encapsulates that sense of unreality and hypernormalization.
In when you came from Spain, right? And then Madrid or something like
Yeah.
that. And then how was that compared to where you're at
Yeah.
now in terms of feeling?
Well, I was in Ibiza, which is an island off Spain, and they do their own thing anyway. The rates are not that high there. there's not a huge police force there to police people anyway.
Okay.
So it's not that far from the Dominican Republic in terms of the atmosphere of not really taking it seriously. Um, you then fly from Ibiza to Madrid, and it is serious. That's way more serious. It's almost flying to another country in terms of the atmosphere change. Interestingly enough, I've met a few people from Haiti here who are working in the Dominican Republic, which is the other side of the same island. And they've told me that in Haiti, they're not doing anything. They're not doing masks. They're not doing social distancing. They've tried to enforce it a couple of times, but the Haitians have just said, "Nah, we're not doing that at
How
all." And they
so?
said there's been no spike there. There's no spike in rates.
Okay, so from the Haitian that you talk to, they don't really have the same regulations, but apparently there's no change in cases or anything like that.
Yeah, they said it's not. There's not been a big. There's no spike in deaths, even though they're not doing any of the lockdown things.
Wow. Okay. So I mean, you've flown through a lot in the last few months or a month or two. Out of all these places, would you say where you're at right now in the Dominican to be the most overtly authoritarian?
Yeah, I mean it. I haven't seen that sort of a display of force um, since Malaysia, where you would have army on the streets, stopping all cars and shining a torchlight in, and it being backed up by dudes with combat shotguns and M16s. So it's years since I've experienced that. My travel partner was very shocked because she's never been outside of Europe, and she was like, "Where the hell have you brought me?" So I was bluffing it. I was like, "Oh, just chill, just chill. This is nothing." She's like, "No, this is scary." I'm like, "Ah, you've seen too many movies. This is fine." But inside, I was thinking, "Hey, this is kind of weird, man."
To be fair, like the way that you go about these things with your demeanor, it just feels like you're just used to all of this. And that's why I always like check in with you like, dude, how are you really feeling about this? Because I'm like really in this wonderland, dude. Like I can never tell with you sometimes. Like how are you feeling about this situation being surrounded by shotguns?
I mean, I do have a pretty good poker face, and I don't, I never think it helps if I'm panicking because people look to me for sort of like not to be panicking. So I'm like, well, I don't have the luxury of panicking. So I'm just going to sit here and look like this is normal. Um, but it's not good. It's not good. I don't want to see armored vehicles and they weren't quite tanks, but I don't want to see armed vehicles in any city, anywhere in the world. I don't think that soldiers and civilians belong together. I don't think that they should be mixed. Know too much about the military to know that you can't really have that mix. You need soldiers, but soldiers are for um, enemies foreign, not enemies domestic. So I really don't like the military of any country policing its country. That's what the police are for. I find it very, very uncomfortable. As it is, I poker face my way through these things, or I'll pretend I don't understand what's going on when I'm being questioned by people like that. And I have been through it before, and I've always gotten away with it. But no, it is worrying. It's frightening. It is a little bit frightening.
It's so, I mean, we've talked about these situations. I mean, ever since I first started talking like 2 years ago, man, it went really quick to like the ever changing
Yeah.
cultural landscape to fascism or whatever. And it was always kind of like in a fucking imaginary thing. But I think you right now are experiencing the closest thing that I think anybody listening right now could actually see in front of their eyes. And like, I don't know what question I could ask you to clarify, but like when you're there and you're seeing the actual military with guns patrolling, searching through your car, and like doing those things, do you have any insight that goes back to our past conversations? Is it surprising, like is it what you expected in our conversations or what you've researched before? Like what are these experiences contextualized in like what you've already known or talked about?
I think most of our conversations are focused on the threat of militarized leftism and communism, and a sort of a soft version of communism. But I can see how a soft version of communism slowly boils people and prepares them for the flash pan fry of fashion. And we're not very far away from that. I mean, when you've got soldiers on the streets asking for your papers, I mean, they're not looking for anybody. They're looking for their own civilians who are out of the house when they shouldn't be because the government told them to be at home from 9 o'clock. So, contextualizing it with previous conversations, I think we can really, without overstating it, say that we can see the birth of fascism right here.
When you're in that situation right now, I mean, you probably shouldn't say it out loud, but like hypothetically, if you were to imagine if someone were in a fictional situation like this, what kind of resistance is possible, and what is it even possible?
It is possible, but it's not possible without doing an impression of prior historical instantations of the same thing. Our technology hasn't developed enough for us to do anything massively different. So even if you said, oh, compare it to Czechoslovakia, the Czechoslovakian resistance to the Nazis, it would essentially be the same thing. It's just the communication between the resistance would probably go through encrypted WhatsApp messages, but it wouldn't be anything different. So you can resist, but it will look the same.
Do you have to have your anti-Cov Vita papers walking around?
Not here, but we did, in order to enter Slovakia, we had to have anti-Covid papers before we get it.
Damn! Wow, man, that's
Mm.
ho-
Puerto Rico was another option, and that does require you to have a test before you can get in.
okay. Okay. If anybody has any questions in the chat, I can pull them up throughout this whole thing, just because I'm sure a lot of people have questions, including myself. I just don't really know where to even go about this. How much longer are you there for?
In the
Yeah,
Dominican.
yeah.
I will be here for another 10 days and then I will move up to Miami and then go to California after that.
Okay. All right. Does it like do you have a better understanding of what somebody else would be going through? I mean, obviously not, there's only so much you can understand, but like, for example, if you were living in the 80s communism of Czech Republic, does it help you understand and contextualize, like seeing what the surroundings are around you are at right now?
I think so. I think like what there's I wouldn't want to overstate it. It's not like I'm in trouble. Because I'm a wealthy tourist, so I'm protected class.
Oh yeah, okay, that's
But
true.
you can see how people are struggling. I mean, I'm in a hotel at 20% capacity. Every employee in this hotel represents at least one family, and so you can see from the top down in terms of whatever millionaire owns the resort, right the way through to the gardeners on the resort. Everybody is struggling with this. I mean, it really is
Whoa.
financially ubiquitous. So it's just like a virus would be, like the Spanish flu would have been, or the Black Death would have been. But this is an economic virus that's ubiquitous. Unless you're a billionaire, you're not. You will be touched by this. You will be touched.
I mean, fuck, man. It literally, you live the Jason Bourne, John Wick movie, maybe without the shooting and stuff, but like from what you've described so far, it sounds like you're in an action movie, man. And it seems like you had this, I don't know, social commentary of a director to make a commentary on the differences between economic class, considering you're seeing the actual differentiations just by being in a hotel in a regime.
Yeah, yeah. It's and it's just coming back to the Dominican now versus 3 years ago, and the change in atmosphere. And I don't know, maybe things are more sensitive now than they were 3 years ago. You can see class issues here, you can see race issues here, political issues here, the same as everywhere else. It's like the entire world is in the same crisis.
That's something that I've noticed about the situation that I think is completely different from the rest most of history, where even something like as supposed worldly was World War II. It wasn't around the world where everybody's going through nearly the same exact type of issues simultaneously, actually.
Yeah,
This is like the only time in human history where
absolutely.
we're all on the same argument, the same quarrel.
Yes, and it's even touched bachata. It's even touched my beloved dancing. I've been told a few times and shown a few times since being here that bachata's not universally loved within Dominican. There's a race and a class issue with dancing, and I'm just like, oh fuck you! Would you fucking leave me alone?
Wait, wait. Oh, shit. Richard, you still alive? You there? Richard! Oh, Jesus Christ. Let's hope that's not anything. Are you still there, right? Richard? Don't scare me.
Can you? Yeah, they found my location, but I ninja chopped
Yeah,
them, and they're all
it sounds like you boomeranged the phone to a throat and it came back to you.
down. Yeah. So it's just even amongst this huge economic and biological crisis, people are still going on about race and class in places where you just don't want it to be. And it's like, so we can't have a little unity. We can't just have a bit of universality. We still have to bring identity politics to this. My God.
It's crazy that it's happening globally too. Here's a question for you from Talika Man. What are your thoughts on the incredibly quick development of the vaccine after the elections and everything?
Yeah, my first thought would be lol.
Yeah, I mean that
Would
summarizes
you
it.
would you let them inject you with this quickly developed vaccine?
I mean, the thing is, it's the question of whether I will get one or not. I'm still deciding. In terms of when, I'm definitely not going to be the first, second, or third groups that will try it out.
Yeah,
What about you?
yeah. No, I would say I'd want at least 5 or 6 years to pass
Okay.
before I tried it. I mean, the thing is, we do have coronavirus vaccines, but they're only 40 to 50% effective, and they have been for time immemorial. That's what the flu jab is a vaccine technically, and it's a vaccine for a coronavirus, but they've never worked. It's incredible that this one is 90% effective. The other ones that have been developed for decades are 50% effective.
It's fishy. That's my answer to the question. It's very suspicious as everything.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
Let me see here. Let's see if we can have any more questions. Um, UG says the only thing flattening is classes being universality of impoverishment that is emerging. Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
unfortunately, that's the malignant egalitarianism that we're going to have imposed on us. It's like you're not in the club, so now you'll be on universal income, you pathetic slaves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, I think uh, SF says I was in Chile in 1980 during the Pinochet dictatorship. So what Richard is describing isn't so strange. The Dominican Republic has a military dictatorship under Trujillo. Military is too much power. So I mean, so SF is saying when he was actually during a when he was there during a dictatorship, it's not that different from what you're seeing right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, once you have soldiers with guns enforcing the law for driving around at night, it's not that far from, oh, you don't have your papers, okay, we'll take you to jail. And once
Yeah.
you take you to jail, we might torture you if we think that you know something that we need to know.
But I mean, let's play this out. What are you going to do with the guns? What are they going to do? Like, you're out like past curfew or you die? Is that the point of the gun? Like, what is that?
Well, it's they're going to shoot you in the head at close range with a combat shotgun because that's a reasonable thing to do to your citizens.
It's like you don't have the mask on. You see what I have in my hands. You know, like what would
Yeah.
that what are the guns supposed to be for? You know, like you can't handle what a supposed viral lockdown is supposed to. If people break the rules for that, you can't handle it any other way. Oh, you cut out. Okay.
It's kind of it's very heavy-handed, isn't
Yeah,
it? Extremely heavy-handed. It's extremely it's all very phallic and like, here we are with our dongs out. We're not going to shoot you with them. We're just going to rest them on your forehead.
because yeah, it's like okay, for if you're just using a gun symbolically, that's fucked up. You're not supposed to use death machines as a symbolic object. But it seems like that's what they're doing. Or the other option is that people aren't staying inside under lockdown, so we have to do it just in case we need to use them. Here we go. Talcum Man says the display of power, like how the Roman military used to march in the streets. Richard, I cannot hear you, so that's why I'm talking over you if you are talking. Um,
Oh, I think I disappeared for a second. I am now back.
yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a vulgar display of power. It's not active, it's passive. So the penis is not erect, but it's there.
Right, and what can you do with a flaccid dang, man?
Yep. Just dangling in your face.
Just at least make it useful, bro. Oh man, you guys got any more questions or any comments about the situation? Because I'm kind of at a loss for words, man. I don't really know what I can add because on my end, I'm just disassociating playing video games, walking on a treadmill. You can look at my fucking physique
Why are you walking on a treadmill?
because I can't walk anywhere, dog. And then I'm just playing video games, sitting down for 5 hours. I was like, I'll play video games and get fit in the meantime.
I thoroughly approve of your decision to do this. It seems very reasonable.
Yes. Yeah, it actually, because when you play video games, time disappears. So instead of wasting 2 hours, you realize that you've walked for 2 hours. And it's like, it's pretty good.
That's cool. I really like that. I think, if more people thought like that, if more people did that, they'd be so much healthier and so much fitter. It would really help.
It really helps because after an hour, you kind of already got the blood flowing. So then you just naturally go towards like the resistance bands and start doing other workouts and stuff.
And are you using those resistant bands?
Bruh, Richard, can you see me? Does it look like I am? Dude, I fucking doubled my mass, bro.
Look at you. Nice.
Thanks
Good work.
yeah,
Good
guys,
work.
if you hang out with
I like
Richard, if you hang out with Richard for 2 months, you'll actually double in muscle weight. Let's see here. Oh, what are people doing to maintain positive states at this time? Richard, that's a great question. You're really good at this stuff, and considering how drastic your environment is, what are you doing?
I think this is a really good time to review our entire map of reality. It's not like things were fucking great before, ladies and gents. Let's not forget. We were on a highway to hell. And we were already in consumer capitalist slavery. brainwashed, over propagandized to, drugged, fed shit food, living shit life that nobody liked. Now we're being served up a golden opportunity for some real change.
Have you how how much have you started restructuring your world map of the viewing of the world?
From the
Yeah.
roots, I really uprooted a lot of previously held assumptions.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, there's like the way this year has gone. The, we're never going back to where it was before, so we all have to make a change.
Yeah, I would also say so on my end. A lot of core pre-assumptions that I've had about not only myself, people, others, a lot of those things have had to be severely reconstructed, like dissipated.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and in that sense, it's healthy, right?
I think so. I think I've come out. I'm still like in the process, but I've come out a lot more, I guess, level-headed in the meantime because there's no other option, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So I think there is positive elements to this for sure.
Matt says, "What is the best way to overcome these constant conspiracy theorist accusations when we're clearly looking at facts that people aren't reading about?"
Uh, I'm not sure which facts you're talking about. If you're talking about scientific research, you shouldn't conflate those with facts. That's not how science works.
Yeah, I guess the way that I would look at it is just another like one of those pre-assumptions that I've had to kind of like readjust is that there's only so much you can do to try to push your views or open others to another possibility. There's a really heavy threshold, and in the end, like you
Yes.
can restructure all of those things within yourself, and it's a cliche saying, but um, the others might just lead just by learn the hard way or just by example. But in terms of like trying to spread the word, it seems like attempting to push and spread the word is doing more harm than good, no matter what side you're on, you know? Oh, Mike drop that Richard leaves, dog. How to best how to best deal with frustrations from the seemingly constant flow of incongruent information statistics and weaponizing misinformation to fuel conflict. I'm not a guru here. I'm just talking just in case Richard decides to come back. If he doesn't come back in the next 5 minutes, I'll be ending the stream. But I mean, if you guys want to answer this question too, that'd be great. Frustrations from seemingly constant flow of incongruent information and statistics. Uh, I think in the end, whatever the statistics and information might be, no matter how non-factual it is, we're kind of, I think Richard would say, we're at a post-truth phase where I don't think that even if real statistics were presented to a majority of people, they wouldn't exactly even open their eyes to it. And I mean, no one's going to change themselves. That's a lot of work. I don't think a lot of people do that. So in the end, it's like it all boils back to what are you actually capable of figuring out in a practical sense that's in front of you physically and psychologically as well. Dude, if you told people that a fucking like the sky is blue nowadays, they would argue with you. It doesn't matter what facts people are presented nowadays. That people just at this current stage, I think everyone's so traumatized that they're unwilling to actually look at objective information, whatever that might be. Uh, Same issue I'm talking about, where both sides seem to fail to grasp the complexity of the predicaments. That's what, dude, honestly, what I've been doing is dropping out in the meantime, figuring it out on my own, and then seeing what I can actually tangibly do on my own terms, not what fucking the dissolution of society is, you know? Richard, come back. I'm still maintaining ground on tentacle croissant. I'm trying to be wise like you. Infinite game, end goal, time wins out, endurance. No one knows what to really trust, believe in the end. I just started to watch cartoons. Dude, honestly, if you do want to disassociate with like whatever amusing entertainment right now, I don't think anybody should be shamed for it. At this point, it it's weird because I'm starting to more see the value of mindless entertainment. And as bad as that is, because that's where we've been going for a while, but it doesn't mean just completely just let your consciousness go to that, but it does help you actually keep sane if you can just spend a few hours with just some pure entertainment. But that's how I would deal with it. Richard would probably be like, go to it head on and shoot a bitch in the face. Uh, Probably wouldn't say that. Seems like this pandemic has caused more mental casualties than physical ones. I mean, economic casualties, which can lead to mental casualties, to just straight up actual mental casualties. Yeah, I would say a lot more negativity can sprout from things that don't even have to do with the direct contact of the COVID itself. What else do we have here? This is now my Pierre Extra channel. Hopefully, the misinformation will wind down for 2 to 3 years until the next election cycle in the US. Politics seems to feel so much of it. Yeah, it almost seemed like what happened was because everybody was clouded by so much mystery of the information surrounding the pandemic. Uh, People looked only to politics to find the answers and to try to project their own answers from politics. So it became like a new religion, a new say all be all thing. And I think that's why everybody was so incredibly politically charged, because also there was no football or soccer games and people need to be a part of a team and have their stag parties and fucking tailgating parties in the comfort of their own home. So they decided to watch the political banter as a substitute for touchdowns and home runs and three pointers and swishes and all that other stuff that I'm not really familiar with. Let's see. You guys got any more questions? Any more insight? This is about you. This is the Tentacle Croissant audience portion. I'm here to bring exposure to anybody who watches this channel from all over the world. What do you guys have to say about this thing? Oh my God. Of course, the chat log isn't updating here, but I can read it on this section. Hold on. Maybe if it pops up here. No? Okay, I'll read it over here. Oh, wait a minute. I could probably do this. Hold on. Share window. There we go. Ah, hey, here we go. That's a really small window, but I'll go ahead and just read it out loud instead. Yeah, bro, my career operator told me to, I shouldn't have zoomed in the middle of the sentence here. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Yeah, bro, my career told me to freeze is actually good sometimes because as opposed to flight or fight, because you stop and think and assess to try to figure out what you should do. I think I agree. Surrounding yourself with some sort of entertainment to disassociate or just level yourself out allows you to level out. So then that way you can think about the situation a bit clearer. So when you come back into it, you're not so traumatized. Um, so I'm not the only one in disassociative haze right now, and where you can't imagine how the future will look. I think you're definitely not the only one, Owen. I'm definitely there. I'm sure Richard's there. Everybody here, I'm sure, can relate as well. It's very common not to know what the fuck is going on at this moment. Oh, I think it. I think the new chat, such a professional. Thank you very much. Politics is the perfect place to look for truth because there are Jesuits pretending to be on different sides. Okay, great. It seems like it's working now. Dema panic, bruh. There it is. How do we deal with the extremely fragile future perspective? It's hard to stay resilient for people who have had a really wonky future perspective. Uh, well, the number one thing is acceptance. Number two is to be reasonable and practical of what you can do in this very moment. Like for example, I always bring this up just because I'm proud of my gains. But Richard really got me into the whole fitness thing, just unintentionally. I was like, dude, I'll try it, man, whatever. But then the more I thought about it, in this setting where everything is extremely unpredictable, there was one practical thing that out of all the options in my head would be beneficial if shit did go down. And that's to at least have your body physically fit enough just in case if worse comes to worse or you need to just do other things. Like it doesn't have to be like fighting off the dystopian AI police, but just to be able to be physically autonomous is a really beneficial thing as well. So I don't know, be reasonable in terms of what you decide that you can do. Do other people feel like there's a lonely time, both physically and mentally? Is the world going to split into camps? People with true and false info. Yeah, the thing is, it's going to split into two groups who think that they're both true. So in that setting, there is technically no false information, which is, I'm sure, someone or Richard can identify that premise with some sort of philosophical concept where if both parties are true and don't believe that they're wrong and they behave as if that is the truth and they're unwilling to be wrong, then there is actually no one that's wrong. They're both right, which is fucking dangerous. And I think everybody is definitely lonely, physically and mentally. That's the reason why on my second channel is shameless self promo. I go out of my way to interact with everybody as much as I can, just because I haven't fucking really hung out or seen anybody for a while. Like it's pretty much just me live streaming, seeing one friend here and there, socially distanced from he'll be in the other room, so I'll talk to my friend through the walls. We'll be wrapped in cellophane and saran wrap, and I'll have a plastic bag tied over my head so I can't breathe. uh so I don't know if you can find some sort of community, whether it be online or anybody you can just talk to on your phone, could be your family. It's a good thing to tap into at that moment. Or if you don't want that option, to be honest, playing video games as teenage boy as that might be, video games keep your mind activated. It keeps it solving problems. It makes you feel confident and competent because you're kicking ass or whatever. And there's also games where you can just socialize with people, and that's an option, but it's not made for everybody. We have to spend more time trying to understand the underlying agendas of the two truths and choose more the palatable of the two. I think that's what we're all trying to do right now. Uh, but it's going to take a while to figure out what the answer is in the end. Mm, I think it's split into three worldviews, as laid out for Alan Watts for a while. What's the third option? I'm curious. Is there any more, my friends? It doesn't seem like Richard's going to come back, so I can keep going for a bit. And then I'm going to be streaming on you now afterwards, just as a video game playthrough. The dissonance is one problem, maybe not knowing who they can have a mental oasis with, where we don't have to fight over beliefs and admit no matter where you stand, we're afraid. Oh, here's some information that I think would be good that I actually wanted to tell Richard as well. Uh, when I was watching, I don't know if you guys know who Jonathan Pajot is on YouTube. He does the symbolic world, and he talks about a lot of these current events in a symbolic theological perspective, which is something that I think we're all forgetting. And one of the conversations that he had, like synchronistically, brought up Václav Havel, who is one of the most revered presidents that the Czech Republic had. He was the guy that was in charge when communism fell. And one of the techniques that him and his family were basically doing in order to take down the authoritarian regime was they literally held picnics, dude. They just held picnics. And it sounds so silly, but there was a whole term for it where they were finding out ways to bring people together with very, very political narrative involved. They found ways to get together with nothing political, and they would just discuss literature. They would discuss art. They would just maybe share a few beers, and they would just hang out. And on top of this, I think his wife or someone growing up during this time in Eastern Europe under communism would read to their children for 2 hours literature and books for 2 hours each every single night. And from there, when these younger generations would kind of grow old enough to understand what's going on, as well as the people who would get together during this communistic time, it opened everyone's eyes into the humanity of the situation and brought everybody to an understanding that wasn't divisive. And then from there, you know, history, the Berlin Wall falls and then communism ends. And then fast forward 60 years, here we are getting back into it, baby. It's all a part of the cycle, my friends. So in the meantime, I think that's a good way to end off this stream. It's unfortunate because I wanted to talk to Richard just as much as you guys wanted to listen to him. I haven't heard from him in a while because, as you can see, he's being through 6 checkpoints in a car accident, being questioned with militarized police officers. So in the meantime, I guess that's what I have to leave it on. Hang out with each other, try to figure out ways to practically not traumatize yourselves any further, my friends. I will be streaming on my YouNow channel just to play some video games and have some fun with y'all. So none of this crazy, intense, fucking dystopian nonsense. It's been a pleasure, Tentacle Croissant viewers, the Tentacle Croissantians and the Croissant Tentacleians. I will see you guys hopefully next week with Richard, and I will post. We still have a few more of those episodes, the professionally shot podcasts, and I will release that within the next week or two. And now I can be way less professional with my demeanor. I fucking sounded like a goddamn news reporter during that whole thing. I'm proud of myself. Where's my suit jacket? See you guys later, and be safe. Squidward.